welcome to another episode of Be Free, Be Fun, Be Fearless. I am Dr. Rana Al-Falaki, your host for today and founder of Light Changes Coaching. And I am really delighted to be joined by this very beautiful lady by my side, Jill Lublin. Now, Jill, I got to know her through a networking group called the Powerful Women Group. So I'm already giving you some hints about where we're going here. But Jill is an international speaker, a 4 times best-selling author. She runs virtual publicity courses in helping you get as much publicity as you could possibly want or desire. Obviously, you have to be willing to do the work, but she shows you exactly how to do it. And she helps people get book deals even before they have written the full manuscript. Am I right?
Yes, you are.
I am right. Hi, Jill. Welcome. Thanks for joining me today.
I am so delighted to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. So, Jill, you've obviously written several books. Which one is your favorite?
Oh, it's like asking you which child you love best.
Different ones.
So they're all different and beautiful in their own ways. And probably, my classic book that started now just came out as a 3rd edition, Guerrilla Publicity. And I love The Profit of Kindness because, of course, that's helping people be more kind. Those are my 2 top favorites.
Yeah, and we were talking earlier about you were running a kindness summit, weren't you?
Yes, I am. That has happened, and now we're going to continue to run kindness circles, and we'll get your people the links to be part of those too.
So what happens in these kindness summits or kindness circles?
Well, what it is a dedication to giving and receiving kindness. And, that means listening to what people really need and then helping them out. And we love to do that. And that's what's been really powerful.
So is it a way of connecting people and then reciprocating to help out each other?
Yes. I mean, I can tell you because I've been doing it, frankly, since the pandemic started, which has been really interesting to do this, to create these relationships. And so what I'm seeing is profound connections between all kinds of businesses, people that would never have met each other in any other way from all kinds of places. So I feel very grateful, and it's a wonderful opportunity for people to get blessed with kindness and really get focused on giving kindness and doing it consciously. Because one thing I'm really big on is, people talk about practicing a random act of kindness. I want you to practice a conscious act of kindness every single day. Just one, pick one.
Yeah, so it's about being intentional. Almost at the beginning of your day, I am going to do a kind act. Who am I going to do it for? It may even just be kindness for yourself, but to intentionally choose to do it.
That's right. And if the day has passed and you were running or forgot, then send a text, send an email. I mean, it's just so easy. It doesn't have to be convoluted or big. It can be very simple, like a smile on the street when you pass, even through the masks. You can do that.
Yeah, you can still smile with your eyes. Absolutely. Just because it will just make someone else's day, right?
Yes, absolutely. Big time.
Yeah. Now, guerrilla publicity, that's just, I can see it behind you. Yes. Tell us about this book, 3rd edition. I mean, that's an amazing achievement. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. It just actually came out as a 3rd edition last week. So you can imagine there's a lot of excitement around that and more publicity, which is fun. And what I wanted to do was create a way for small business owners, entrepreneurs, people just like you listening to this podcast, to get and have ways to create that visibility, right? Because you deserve it, you need it, it helps your business, it grows your prospects, it gets you customers. That's what's real about publicity. Not to mention it creates familiarity and trust in the marketplace. And that's important, that people know your name, understand you, connect to you. And so publicity does that. It creates that recognition factor. And in guerrilla publicity, we go through lots of great ways for you to get that done effectively, simply, inexpensively, and with resources to help you out in how to do that.
That sounds amazing. And can they buy the book from Amazon?
Yes, or go to jilllublin.com. It'll take you right to Amazon to
Yeah.
get the book. Absolutely.
And so I'm hearing from you, there's a lot of practicality in there.
Yes, I mean, I'm a practical person. I think it's important that we have real things to do that are simple and easy and systemized and replicatable. I do this in my books. I do it in my virtual publicity course. I make things systemized, I think especially every 30, 60, and 90 days. I want people to grow their publicity garden and plant seeds that are appropriately growing in different times of the year so that you can harvest publicity all year round. And then we talk about, using the news, like what's going on right now, where you can fit into, and of course, health topics and coaching topics and having a better life and financial topics, good mindsets. These are all keys these days, relationships, parenting issues, all important. Listen, I even have a woman in the United States who is a dating coach. And one of the things I had her do was talk about, can a Democrat date a Republican? Can a Republican date a Democrat? You can replicate that in any country, right? And that actually is what got her continuous media exposure using, I like to call it everything you've got, being a dating expert, but switching it to what's relevant for right now in the moment, right? And so I want you all to always be thinking about and creating stories around what's relevant right now in the moment. And look at that.
Because when someone is, if they're just on their path and they just are coming up with the same message, but not finding the right angle, at a time when in the US, because we're recording this in November, you're waiting for the election to be called. And of course we've had the pandemic this whole year, and I think as we're nearing the end, actually people are sick of hearing about the pandemic and actually just want to hear about happiness and how to have a good Christmas and so on. So there's no point talking about spring, say at Christmas time, or it's as simple an analogy as that actually, if people are paying attention to, they're in the States, to an election, find the spin in the story of whatever it is you happen to do to what people are actually looking up on the news.
Yes, it's a yes, and I want you also to be thinking about spring, next fall, right? Because that's the part about planting seeds. So think about the holidays. You can go to something like nationaldaycalendar.com is terrific, and look up holidays for what fits into your topics, and then start planning, thinking about, the general holidays, right? For Halloween, instead of Halloween, you know what I like to do? I like to have people think about what's scary related to what they do. So I had a financial expert, for instance, who is a coach, and he was talking about, aren't you scared of retiring without money? And so we talked about that and spun the story for Halloween in October that way. So think about what's possible for, we'll call them themes of during the year, and then how you can fit in. And then there are sometimes themes that relate to whatever it is you're connected to. And that's also where you can fit in. And that strategy tends to work really well.
So Jill, but how could you really stand out? So say, we start the new year, the typical thing in the new year is New Year's resolutions, new goals, get fit, new body, new mindset, energize. I get so bored of my inbox that has, it's almost the same title, just worded slightly differently, with everybody wanting to launch their programs for the new year. How can you, not only, there's an aspect of fitting in, but then also you want to stand out in somebody's inbox or in an article. How can you do that?
So, good headlines are always important. One of the things in press releases, which are a little complicated to go into on a podcast, but one of the things on press releases is having a great headline. Same thing with your email inbox. I want you to think in headlines and speak in headlines. And that also means short, pithy sentences, focused message. And I'll just share with you, when Profit of Kindness came out, I ended up on multiple TV interviews, big ones in the first 7 days, right? Some were in person, some via Skype. And, the interesting thing about that was that an average, let's call it Fox News interview, was 4 minutes and 20 seconds. I averaged them out. Most of these were Fox TVs. It was on the Profit of Kindness, but it was really, see, it wasn't on Jill's got a book out. It was about how do we use kindness in the marketplace? How do we help heal the divided states of America? And that was the focus, not Jill's got a new book out. So for all of you listening, it's never about your program. And you want to be thinking about what are the viewers needing, watching, listening to, right? And fit into what's going on for them and tuning into their problems. So that's always the focus. And when you go with that mindset, it'll make a big difference.
Yeah, so that way of how you, the kind of how you can be of service, and the WIFM phrase, the what's in it for me, when you're looking at, what's in it for the person who wants to buy the book, or what exactly are they searching for, and what are they going to gain? That's what I'm hearing you say.
Absolutely. But listen, I've helped every kind of business owner create publicity to support more prospects. Doesn't matter, you have a book or you have a service, a product, right? Because what you're looking at is an attraction strategy. That's what publicity is, to widen your net and to create more visibility in the marketplace, period. Right? Now, that will lead to clients. That will lead to people knowing your name, recognizing your company, recognizing your service. That creates I like to call it the I've heard of you somewhere syndrome. That helps you focus on now, creating and retaining prospects and clients. Because frankly, you got to have that to do business. And I see publicity return on investment consistently, really consistently. But it's a lot about sometimes changing your story. And this is the thing people really got to hear. And I'll just tell you, if I may, Ryan, that's one of my clients. He's an instructional designer. I had no idea what that was when he said, Jill, I want to hire you for publicity. I'm like, Ryan, no offense, once he told me, that's not interesting enough. We got to switch your story. And I found out in his story that he'd been downsized from a corporate job, that he had a pregnant wife with their third child on the way. He had just bought a big house and now he's got a big mortgage payment. And did I mention no job? I'm like, Ryan, what'd you do? He said, well, necessity is the mother of invention. And I created an online, way to virtually serve my clients. Sound familiar, right? And his company flourished because what we did was we called him a virtual office warrior. And the acronym for that is VOW, Virtual Office Warrior. So Ryan took a vow never to work in an office again. Do you know what? The local business journal put that as their headline. And that was phenomenal. When fired, you too can vow not to work in an office again. That was their headline. I love that. On top of that, he got into, I'm big on, I call it use everything you've got. Ryan is Asian. And although he doesn't speak a word of Chinese, we translated his articles, put it into the Chinese Times. And do you know that one article in the Chinese Times, which is an international newspaper, resulted in $7,000 US in business? Now, that's what I'm talking about, right? And that's the power of publicity.
And of course, once it's out there, it's not just that moment in time. There's stuff that sits in the archives.
Well, yeah, thank you. You live on. Are you kidding? I've had people find me. They go, oh, yeah, I heard you on, your podcast a year ago. Sometimes they'll say, or, people will come through. I have a call with someone later today who heard me recently on another podcast. Absolutely. Because publicity begets publicity. And it's the kind of thing that keeps rolling. And yes, you live on, and you live on, in digital assets, on the websites, in all kinds of manners. That the good news is you have opportunity to, that's also why I love publicity. You leave legacy, you leave an imprint of your knowledge, because let's face it, you're probably in business because hopefully you love it. You found something you do that's right for you or in your skill set, and that works, right? And so we want to I see publicity as a way of giving and gifting to people your talents, what it is that you do. And so publicity gets the word out about it and brings them to you.
What is your favorite form of publicity?
Mm. Well, listen, I love being on, for me personally, you mean, or for my clients?
For you personally, let's start there.
So I love TV. I'm a TV kind of woman. It's enjoyable to me. Radio is really easy for me. And you don't even have to put on your lipstick.
Always handy.
or full makeup. So those two are great. And, I must say, so I love, also that you can open a magazine and actually read something and that stays. And then you leverage that, you give it to clients, you pass it along. Like when I do live speaking engagements, I'll put a reprint from a magazine onto their desk. And that has power and impact, right? You can't quite do that with TV or radio even, but everywhere, every media you get, you put in your websites, in your blogs, you leverage to your clients, you let them know you were featured. It all matters and it all counts. I'll tell you a great story. I got brought in to help with publicity when Robert Allen and Mark Victor Hansen, Mark's of Chicken Soup for the Soul fame, and Robert's been a big real estate investor, lots of books. They were doing a new book called The 1 Minute Millionaire. Beautiful, great book if you haven't read it. And they flew me in to discuss PR strategy. And one of the things Mark Victor Hansen said, who, by the way, has sold 85 million books. Like, I love listening to Mark. I love his expertise, him and Jack Canfield, right? And he said to me, Jill, one of the reasons you're in this room is that I know the power of publicity. He said, when Chicken Soup for the Soul was just starting and nobody really knew who he was or what is this Chicken Soup for the Soul thing. And he goes, we would do the smallest interviews in the smallest cities. We'd get up ridiculously early. We just said yes to everything. And one of the things I'm really big on is you say yes to everything, right? And it doesn't matter what they ask you. It doesn't matter if you think you know that you can answer this. Always say yes. It's really key. And it's a powerful strategy to drive your visibility building activities. And, Mark obviously created, and Chicken Soup for the Soul created great success by following that strategy. One of their strategies was use publicity and say yes to everything.
But obviously and I know obviously when that book came out, the internet was not what it is now. I mean, I don't even think it existed in any form. I certainly have that book on my bookshelf. But obviously now we have the world of social media, but we're battling against algorithms. So you can put all the stuff out there that you like, all your press, your podcast presence, your articles, and no one might see it. It's purely dependent on those algorithms with social media. And at the same time, so many magazines being online, again, doesn't necessarily get seen. So how would you say people can help themselves in that respect?
So one of the ways is, listen, I'm very aware things are not seen. So multiple posts. Like I have a beautiful interview with Jack Canfield, speaking of Chicken Soup for the Soul. And I said, tell me 3 great things that you can do for publicity. I like to go the masters. You don't have to reinvent. Well, guess what? A lot of people never saw that. And so what I do is I kept reposting it to the top. You're reminding me I'm going to do it again this week. Mm-hmm. So I picked different really great interviews that I know were excellent, and I'll repost them. Do never assume, I hate to tell you all, but never assume that everybody's reading your stuff. So rotate, regurgitate, reuse, recycle, right? Recreate. And I think that's always good. It's really okay to, you're not getting boring if you do it again, right? So that's one thing. And I think you just got to know that that's part of the game. That's why we repeat and continue the evolution of publicity, which, let me tell you, publicity is an evolutionary journey, right? This is not a one and done, my friends. As much as I'd love to say, listen, 4 books, every book required a very different publicity campaign. And now, I'm continuously doing publicity and continuously looking for great places to speak up and speak out about whatever's going on. November 13th is World Kindness Day, celebrated around the world, which we celebrated already, right? So I found that out, by the way. This is a great tip for all of you, by going to Google Alerts and putting in the word kindness, right? And so every time there's anything on kindness, because I wrote the book, The Profit of Kindness, I'm going to get those articles. I'm going to see what people are writing about, talking about. That's important. And so I really recommend you doing that for yourselves, as well as putting in your name, because that way, when you see your name pop up, that's important too. I'll just share a fun story. I was teaching my virtual publicity course, and I got a text from a very major TV station in Dallas, Texas. And they had just fired the largest marketing agency because the CEO made a racist remark. And they needed some, experts to come on and talk about this. And I said, well, I texted back, I'm sorry, I'm teaching today, but I can do it at the end of the day. And that worked for him. I came on, and the first thing I said was, boy, I wouldn't want to be them today. He wasn't recording that, but he then pressed the recording, goes, say that again, right? Because you got to sometimes you'll let me just say, the truth is a lot of it is opinion, meaning the media's opinion. Why shouldn't it be your opinion? And then I wanted to find the actual produced segment because, of course, he had me on for maybe 10 minutes and maybe 2 minutes of that got used. And the way I found it was the next day, Google Alerts popped up, Jill Lublin, there I am with that major station in Dallas, Texas, and I could immediately look at the interview. And so that's a really good strategy. It keeps you up to the minute where you're featured. A lot of times, if you're speaking somewhere, the group might feature you, or you never know. But it is important to know that your name's popping up, and then what your basic covering in the world, put a keyword in, and then you will get alerts all the time. So that's a really good strategy that works well.
Yeah, and I imagine helps to give you ideas. So if you're an author, and then you also happen to write articles, like you said, you look at kindness, you see what other people are doing. It will keep you current. It will give you ideas for further ways to feature, and ultimately then promote your book.
Absolutely, it's perfect.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So how did you get into publicity in the first place?
Oh, well, a long and windy road. That's the Beatles song, right? So, like a lot of people, I didn't necessarily find my way in quickly. I actually went to law school first. Then I entered the music business, which was entertainment. And I learned from the music business that the power of perception. I really think I learned my publicity chops in the music business. And because I was in that, then I opened up really my own PR agency. After working with independent record labels, I became the director of promotion and publicity at those labels, and then moved into my own public relations firm. Then from there, I like to call it tapped on the shoulder to write my first book, Guerrilla Publicity. And then from there, frankly, I closed down the PR agency. I opened up consulting, opened up the virtual publicity course, and now I'm serving far more people at far more affordable rates. And I'm just having much more fun speaking on now 7 continents, which I'm grateful for. So able to reach people farther and wider.
Yeah. So, and I can hear the passion and the joy, sheer joy in your voice. It's coming from a place of service, but also just being so passionate about what you do, and something that's clearly very aligned with you and your values, which is so important when it doesn't feel like work. That's when we know we've hit the nail, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I like getting out of bed every morning. There are some mornings maybe I can sleep a little later, but other than that, and also I love yesterday afternoon, it was a beautiful day, and I went kayaking at 2:30 in the afternoon, right? And that is great too. So I love being an entrepreneur and calling my own schedule, and probably work harder than most people with real jobs. But other than that, it's great.
Yeah, but that's about the element of freedom as well, isn't it? It's identifying what it is you want, why you want it. You help people with publicity. I'm sure there's, in amongst that, there will be some clarity needed about why you want this publicity, where you're coming from, and who you are, because that's you're showing your brand and showing your true self is part of should be, I imagine, part of your publicity program, so that you actually attract the type of clients you want, and then the freedom that you want.
Absolutely. And the power of that. Entrepreneurship has its own challenges, like everything. So, so does everything in life, right? You choose one, you do your best, and you give the most you can.
What would you say to people who are, I mean, obviously I asked you what your favorite publicity type was, and for you it's TV and radio, and I too have no problem speaking. I think, having also being an international speaker, you get over it, but there are an awful lot of people who will hide behind the written word and find it really scary to go from writing to actually speaking. How can you help people with that?
So I will tell you, and I work a lot with introverts. There's a few things. One is, when you know your message, your confidence will get accelerated. So the people I work with, the first thing we do in my virtual publicity course, in our private coaching, is the message. You got to know what to say. You got to feel confident. It's got to be integral for you and resonant for you. And then once that happens, it starts going in. You might need a little card to memorize. I like people to have a script so that they're comfortable. And then you can go off script after, right? But I like things, and I'll tell you, I think consistent and persistent wins the game, right? So when somebody's knows their message, knows what to say, that confidence level goes sky high and makes a huge difference for so many. So that's a big first thing, knowing your message. Sometimes it's a little bit of practice. I like people to stand in front of the mirror, make sure that your posture's good, that you have a smile on your face every so often. Actually, somebody hired me to coach them for Larry King when he was on the air. And one of the things, he's brilliant. He's an international transformational specialist. And he didn't smile. I'm like, listen, this is one thing I got to tell you. You got to smile occasionally, right? Just think consciously, smile like every 2 minutes even. So that's important. Like, and just keeping that openness if you're being interviewed. The other truth is, there are some people I will not put on TV, for example, or radio even. Like, I had a gentleman who owned an insurance company. He wrote a fiction book, and that was his third career. Beautiful, great fiction book. And he had a monotone voice. And I said, we're going to do the written word only, articles, blogs, you can write those, good, but no radio and no TV. And, he got it. No problem. So one of the things, people in particular who are a little bit afraid at first, I like them to ease in. The written word is easier. You have time to think. Blogs and even podcasts are easy, but you got to answer questions. So if those aren't comfortable, or try some podcasts where you aren't seen visually. Some are just audio. So those would be ways I would start. And that's great ways to get exposure quickly. Without, having the pressure of TV, which, honestly, and when I was doing those Fox News interviews and I had 4 minutes and 20 seconds and that red light comes on, boom, we're off the gate. Yeah. I had to know what the heck to say. I had to be ready. Sometimes the hosts would take me where they want to go, which always I train people, when they're taking you one way, you can still go another, and you just have to, it's called bridging, right? And so the truth is, so as you get more and more comfortable, you can almost go anyway. And it's about getting comfort, finding the place, but, take it step by step. Take the baby step. And the baby step for most of you might have a 500-word article ready to go that you can post. That's a great way to start with publicity.
Yeah, and what I hear you say, it's funny actually. One of the stories you said, I think I was interviewed for half an hour, 45 minutes by a journalist. I think for I can't remember, it was KVTV in the States. I thought, oh great, and she was so enthusiastic. She said, there was so much brilliant stuff here. And then I got a link to the article she'd then written. It was literally one small paragraph that. So it's so important to get you. I mean, it was great. I mean, it still comes up very high in the Google searches, but it's so important, like you say, to get your message heard. And in a time, in a world where we are impatient generally, and people tend to skim read as well and skim listen, if there aren't enough to the point facts and you're not getting your message across in point form, sometimes it doesn't get noticed, right?
Well, that is a definite problem. And realistically, there's lots of good things. I mean, I'm optimistic about all the powerful publicity opportunities you have now between social media and all the reporters that you can find on social media, any platform, by the way, particularly, I think, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. So using those, plus all the podcasts that you put in a keyword into iTunes and see what podcasts come up, or any form you like. There's all kinds of shows, and I'm talking independently produced shows too. So there are opportunities. Do a Google search, like put in your keyword and watch what comes up. Those are the shows start with first, because they're your target market. They're people who are talking about your main subject, and that really works well.
Yeah. So would you say, for what I'm hearing you say, is that people don't need to get a publicity agent? They can approach these people directly.
You actually can. Now, here's the deal. If you're in, like, a chiropractor I'm working with, he's being featured on a major international show with Lisa Ling. And, this is the kind of thing we're actually working on, him doing publicity that'll get him out quicker, faster, using an agent who has contacts immediately. But, what you got to get is there's lots of great ways to get your media out without spending a fortune, in systemized way, doing it the right way, connecting. And there's lots of things that you can do independently. Absolutely. So do I think most people do not need a publicity agent, but you do need to know how to get this done the right way. And that's important.
And need to be prepared to do the work.
Yes, and you can actually delegate out some of the work. That's where your PA or VA comes in. They can be looking up podcasts for you. There's all kinds of ways around this. You don't have to actually do the work. People can do the research for you.
Yeah, which is great. So yes, save you the time consuming, and then you can stick to the creativity and the bits you enjoy, which of course keeps you passionate, which of course then conveys your message more powerfully. So then we go in a great big circle. I want to talk to you about, I'm very curious about how you manage to get people book deals before they've even written a book.
Okay, so I got to do show and tell for this one. Here's a great example. This is a woman, Susie Carter. Okay, this is a book called Power Your Profits, and it just came out. Now, she came to me 3 years ago and she said, Jill, I got a great idea for a book for women. And we actually pitched a book for women. Not a word was written. Okay. Now, what happened is that book for women, which was a business book, became what was needed by the publisher, a larger book, in the sense that we want to spread the word bigger and wider, and help small business owners generally. But I will tell you, one of my secret sauces is that I created a 2-page back and forth, it's 1-page double-sided sheet that talks about the person and up levels their bio and says what a great idea it is. Basically, it's a pitch sheet, and that gets presented to publishers and agents, which I have had in my front and back pocket for 18 years. I meet with them usually live at major book expos in London, in Frankfurt, and in New York. And I'm talking to them about ideas that my clients have. Some are self-published already. And getting this, most of the books that I get the major book deals, that book that you just saw got a 6-figure book deal with Simon & Schuster. And that became a bidding war. Now, how did that happen, you might ask? Not only did she have a great book and concept, she also has a good following. And do you know what good followings mean? She has good publicity. Mm-hmm. She has publicity equals influence. She has good influence. So that's the power of publicity. It got her a major book deal. And, that's what I've seen happen consistently. Sometimes you just have like an amazing story, like a woman I represented who had an opioid addiction, recovered from it, and now wants to help others with the same issue. Now, you probably never heard of her name, but we got her a great deal with a recovery publishing house, meaning that's the focus of their books. So, what I know about most people's book ideas is that you have to start like everything somewhere. And I fully believe that a lot of people have a book brewing in them. And I like to say, don't do all the work first. Let's get the level of interest. Like a gentleman from London who is a major transformational teacher, and I pitched his book. And the truth is, it's a great self-help book, but it needed a unique twist. So instead of him having written a book that wasn't going to work to sell to major publishers, we got him the right way to do it and with the right approach and different twists. Because here's what you need to know. The book you want to write may not be the book the publishers want to publish. Mm-hmm. So we've got to find the right way. And then, the other piece I tell people is, hey, listen, go ahead and self-publish. If you want to just get a book out, let's do it. I got great hybrid publishers, people who will help you with that process. Happy to help you if you need some resources. But, I'm big on let's just get the book out, because books are powerful strategies for you all to create more visibility in your world. Can I just share with you, when Get Noticed, Get Referrals came out, that's my 4th book, actually, on McGraw-Hill. And as much as I'd love to say, again, the publicity always happened because we were driving people to the message. At that time, there was a tough job market. How do you get a job based on referrals? Which, by the way, is not necessarily my expertise, but it landed me a CBS TV show talking about that, right? And so what was interesting is a gentleman that read an announcement. This is one of my strategies, is to send announcements out, not press releases, to your universities, to where, different places where you did education. They published it. He read it. He's in San Antonio, Texas, I think. Yes. And he said, hey, Jill, I got your book. And I see from your bio that you do PR consulting. He owned a shoe manufacturing company. And guess what? Next thing I know, it's a $6,000 VIP day with his director of marketing. Now, that happened because of a free strategy that got published, that would create a publicity, that created that and generated that familiarity and trust. He bought the book, only $21. You see how that works, right? So that $21 book led to a major engagement for consulting. That's what I'm talking about. And that's the power of having a book, doing publicities. It leads to increased fees. It leads to certainly prospects and clients, and generates that level of attention that keeps your name out there. Very powerful strategy.
Yeah, uplifting you. It's another tool to uplift you to expert status, right?
Yes, great. And to get your expert authority out there. Because, you can be an expert sitting in your living room on Zoom, consulting your clients, doing good work. And that's a beautiful thing. But imagine this. If you get one article and then, all of a sudden your inbox gets full with requests and your phone starts ringing. I had one client, she said she followed one of my strategies at the publicity course. And guess what? She sold 34 books in 20 minutes. Right? That's awesome. And that's a couple $100. I call it lunch money. That's very good. Right? But all of it matters. All of it matters, and everything counts.
Yeah, well, ultimately, what I'm sure what would happen is she was so excited enough to tell you, her confidence is raised. If she's more confident, then the energy she puts out is going to be felt and resonate with more people, because she's just going to keep going once she gets started, rather than seeing a brick wall and thinking, I can't do this, or nobody's listening to me, I'm not getting heard.
Yes, and you know what? There'll be some times that will be more quiet. Do not get discouraged, right? Because publicity is a long-term game. And so there will be spurts of activity. You know, for instance, if you're an author, the spurt of activity will be before your book is out, not after. Before your book is out, then maybe after, then some follow-up, right? If you're a consultant, coach, business owner, any kind of other small business owner, you're probably, I think it's a smart strategy to watch where you can fit into the news and be relevant and get a story going. But also, you're planning. Remember, 3, 6, 9 months down the road. That's a key.
Yeah, yes, so important. And if it sounds overwhelming to anybody, like you say, you can hire virtual assistants, you can hire VAs, you can hire PAs who can do a lot of the background work for you relatively inexpensively, so that you can concentrate and focus. And people to do all your social media posts, for example, like you say, it's the repetition. It's not worrying that you might have recycled the same posts for a period of a week, maybe 3 or 4 times a day, but with different posts, but each one coming out at a different time of day, because different people will look at things at different times, and it's how to get noticed ultimately.
Absolutely. And it's not only about, how to get noticed, it really is the consistent, persistent visibility building activities. My friends, that could be showing up on a Zoom networking, right? That's publicity. So I want you to realize, for me, my definition of publicity is it happens from the minute you go public. In this case, in many of our cases, Zoom and meetings are a great way to create and build visibility, and to practice that message and get it right and stay consistent. And can I just tell you, you'll get bored. You'll get bored of your message. And that's your first sign that you need to keep going, because the truth is, you know who you are, but we need to recognize and be familiar with you. And so that's a real key in the marketplace, is please keep your message out, and know that the consistency factor will win the game.
Now that's very interesting, because if you do become bored, and actually, I can relate to that, because when my book came out, I did so much publicity, so many podcasts, TV, radio, articles, posts, and gosh, I still keep going. And so what happens is, when you create that message, you really engage with so much passion inside. But when you keep saying the same thing, sometimes you end up thinking, if you're bored with it, are other people bored with it? How can you infuse the interest and the enthusiasm? Because obviously it's got to be a story you tell yourself, that no, this is still fresh. It's only because I keep hearing it. These people are hearing it for the first time.
That's right. So that's the thing to know, is your audience is hearing your story for the first time. And even if they hear some of the same key points, listen, I've had people tell me, Jill, I've heard you 5 times, and somehow I heard something really new and different this time. Do you know why? Because you're new and different. Because you're in another place where something can go, I like to call it kerplunk. Something goes kerplunk in your listener, because they hear you differently. So do not be concerned that your stories might be regenerated and retold. So what? People will hear it differently. And then, yes, sprinkle in some new things that are happening for you right now. But there's some consistent stories I use in publicity, in presentations, because why? Because they produced real results that I want people to understand and know. And that's what illustrates the power of publicity. And guess what? This woman who sold 34 books, she told me that last week. The man who's a virtual assistant, I worked with him 3 years ago. The power, though, of him being in the Chinese Times and creating $7,000 from one article, speaks to the ROI of publicity, return on investment of publicity. So I think for all of you, you just got to know there are some stories that I think should be actually your pinpoint stories, your solid foundation stories. the ones that everybody needs to hear consistently, and then sprinkle in new facts, new stories, new learnings. But here's the deal. You just really got to remember there's always somebody new listening. That's who you're talking to.
Yeah. And actually, we only retain a small percentage of what we hear. So when we keep on hearing, you might be bored with it thinking, oh, I've got to change the whole thing, but you really don't, because people will engage with your energy, and ultimately they will hear different things at different times, depending on where their attention and intention is focused.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again, remember, just going to repeat it because I know entrepreneurs tend to get bored. Stay with your message, stay the course, stay centered, stay consistent and persistent. And I promise you, with your message, it will multiply and it will reach so many more people than just you as one person is capable of when you're using publicity ongoingly.
Yeah, and to use all the resources available as well. So the social media, the magazines, the TV, the radio, the podcasts, as much as possible, and the networking, like you said, the referrals, the networking, make an impact to help people to remember you. And it only takes one to start the chain. And a book.
Absolutely.
Be the expert. So you have these wonderful virtual courses. I know you've been alluding to. I'd love it. We've got a couple of minutes left. If you could tell us a bit more about that program.
Oh, thank you. So I do teach a virtual publicity course. It is no nonsense, get it done. I hope you can tell I'm kind of like a practical, tactical kind of woman. And in the course, we actually complete 3 documents that you need for the press to say yes to you. You'll also have templates that you can use for every project you will ever do. And I spill all the secrets and tell you the things that most people will never tell you, based all on doing publicity the right way. You're going to have a system every 30, 60, and 90 days. And you're going to have the way to get your name out there and use publicity in ways that are doable and done. And the fun thing is we get it done. So it's live, it's interactive with me, and it's virtual. And here's the super cool thing that, frankly, this course was a lot more expensive before the pandemic. Let me just say, I lowered the cost and I am doing pandemic pricing, literally. And how you get that is you go to publicitycrashcourse.com, put in the code Stay Visible. It's all lowercase, and I'm sure we'll have it in the show notes too. So publicitycrashcourse.com, put in the code Stay Visible for a wonderful way to get your name out there in ways that are simple, tactical, practical. You'll pick one day. We're going to be rocking it together because your name and your company deserves to be in the news. And my friends, your message matters. Let's do it. Let's do it this together.
Yeah, such a powerful, powerful message, Jill. And are you still including the book proposal in that? That was something we talked about. I know.
Oh, that's another program.
Yeah, so tell us about that program.
So I do help people. Oh, thank you. I do help people. I call it Get Your Darn Publicity and Book Done. Mm-hmm. And that includes me pitching your book. And it includes private time with me, and includes once a week, really in heads down focus with making sure publicity gets done in a small group. And that's a wonderful program. Feel free to reach out to us if you're interested in that. And let's see if it's a good fit for you. And if you have anything you want to talk to me about with publicity or publishing and getting your name out there, feel free to schedule a call, and we'll put that in the show notes too. You can go to jilllublin.com/schedule, and we'll create a time to talk together.
Okay, that's wonderful. Yeah, so 2 links there, and I will definitely put them in the show notes. So for both your programs, so the book launch, the Get It Done, get the publicity done, and then of course the virtual publicity. And we should say as well, if people can't attend some of that stuff live on your virtual publicity course, they have access to recordings, right?
Absolutely. So thank you, because I do have people from all over the world in different time zones. And so my gentleman from Australia recently, he listened to recordings. Absolutely. Everything is recording. Templates are downloadable. And so the course will live on with you. You all get that no matter what. whether you're live or you can listen later. No problems, no worries.
Okay, wonderful. And as I'm sure you've all seen, Jill is definitely a get it done type of person. You know, and so practical. I love it. I absolutely love it. No BS. It's just like, this is what you do, and this is what I think, and this is the best way forward. Absolutely amazing. Jill, you have been an amazing guest. Thank you so much for your energy, your wisdom, your knowledge, and what a wonderful foundation for anybody in any business looking to make an impact. Jill is definitely the place to start. So thank you for being a wonderful guest today.
Thank you for having me. I so appreciate it.
It's a real pleasure. So yeah, I hope you got, well, I'm sure you would have got tons of insight from that. Thank you so much for listening. Please do hit the subscribe button, and please do share. Great publicity for me, so I thank you. Well, another bit for publicity is to actually ask for it, right?
Yes, you always have to ask for it.
You have to ask, because sometimes people forget. So yeah, please do, as an act of kindness. It's another one. See, as an act of kindness, share that on to and let everybody know about Jill as well. So really grateful. Hope you enjoyed this episode. My 3 favorite words for you now. I'm Rana Al-Falaki. Be free, be fun, be fearless. Bye-bye for now. Feel on top of the world with Light Changes Coaching. Do you feel like burying your head in the sand, hoping it will all be fine when you come out? Do you know what you want, but no idea how to get it? Are you stuck on the treadmill, repeating the same old patterns, wishing the answers would just be there for you? How great would it feel to have those answers right there in the palm of your hand? Or did you know that there is a way to get immediate answers, fast resolution of inner problems, and quick access to a higher state of awareness? After 20 years of helping people, I have perfected a special technique that allows you to tap into your intuition. Connect with your intuition in just 5 minutes a day using this special technique, Dr. Rana's gift technique, the guided intuition and fulfillment training, and you can have those light bulb moments every day. So get what you want, a job that gets you excited when you get up in the morning, a relationship where you can look across the table and think how much you love that person, a body that you're proud to have and look in the mirror and absolutely love, a bank balance that you're not afraid to look at. My gift to you is simple, quick technique to access your intuition and give you the instant answers you need to get unstuck without having to do lengthy meditations. So head on over right now to lightchangescoaching.com and download yours.